Okay, I think so what I like to do before we actually get into the recording itself is what's the name of, what did you land on? What's the name of your career safari journey?
Do it afraid, because giving up is not an option.
Woo-hoo. Because giving up is not an option, or is that like the subtitle?
Tagline, like do it
Ah,
afraid because giving up is not an option.
awesome. And I'll ask you more about that later. And when we talked,
Recording, right? We're
yeah,
recording.
I am. This is for me to also remember. I take my notes, but Lord help me when it comes to
Okay,
remembering
that's
each
it.
detail.
Okay.
And we talked about your ethnic background, and you said you're a mix of all things. So do you want to
Yeah, I
say?
have 4 different nationalities. I am Jamaican by heritage.
Okay.
I'm from Jamaica, but my name was Fong before I even got married, and I got married to another person who's also mixed with Chinese. So I'm quarter. You could probably say quarter Chinese, quarter. I'm not sure what the whole percentages are, but my father was half Chinese. His father was full Chinese. His mom was German, so she was white. My mother was African and also Portuguese, is what I found out because
Ah,
she did one of those DNA things that everybody's doing these days. Yeah.
oh my goodness. But I mean, I mean, some people wonder why I put ethnicity. It's because I just want to show like people from everywhere are doing some amazing things. People from women from all backgrounds are doing amazing things. And I know some people, but why is that important? I'm like, you don't realize how important it is if you are not that race.
Right.
Like, when you see someone who is Kenyan, like there's a person who's Kenyan who's high up at Vogue.
Yeah.
That makes me proud. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
we can do it. I'm like, no, it means things for people when they see a Pakistani doing something. It means a lot. So thank you. I'll put Jamaican, and then in parentheses, I'll put the Chinese, German, West African, and Portuguese.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome. Do it afraid. Okay.
Do it afraid.
All right. Let me start my piece of it now. Take another. Every time I'd love to know how you feel about seeing your face and hearing your voice. I'm like, oh,
I'm so used to it now because I do YouTube videos, and so I have to listen to my voice and make sure I edit whatever I want to. So I've gotten used to it.
do you edit yourself?
I do, but I'm not very good at it. I'm just starting. Most times I just let everything just run, mistakes and all. But I unless it's really horrible, then I will try and edit it out, or I will
Okay.
record. It takes a long time. Well, for me, I'm just starting to learn how to do that.
It takes a long time, and my sister was doing it for me, but now I've decided to pay someone to do the editing, because I mean, with video it's you get both, but with the only audio, it's like you need it to be as smooth as possible, or it's going to turn off the listener.
Right.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the Career Safari podcast. This is our space to have authentic and at times a little bit disruptive, or maybe very disruptive, girlfriend, boyfriend, cisgender, whatever it may be, chat on what it means to be a career woman, where we amplify voices of women from different countries and ethnicities. And today, I'm so excited, you all. And this is actually going to close out our Career Safari season. We'll be back in a month. But I wanted to close our season, our first season, on a high note. And let me tell you, before I even say her name, I stalked her out. I saw her on YouTube and she helped me, and you'll understand why. And then I said, I really want to know her story. And if I could help her spread what she's doing out there, if I could get more of what the good work she's doing to other people, I would. And she responded. So our guest today is Dr. Christine Chin Sim. Welcome, Dr. Christine.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, So I'm going to give my own little high level background on who you are. So Dr. Christine, you are a psychotherapist by training, correct?
Mhm.
And then you now have your own YouTube channel and your own consultancy called Leverage for Change, where
Mhm.
she helps people in the world. And now you're going to side eye me because you'll know exactly why I was going to her with relationship advice and helping people, especially in regards to attachment theory, will really help them find healthy, balanced relationships. So there's a lot to unpack there about Dr. Christine and her history. But Dr. Christine, we're so happy to have you here. Welcome to Career Safari, and thank you for becoming a torchbearer.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, she's a relationship coach and consultant with a PhD in psychotherapy with a focus on marriage and families. She's also a researcher. She's a coach. She's an author, and she's a mother. So that is an extensive background. And Dr. Christine, we have a lot of listeners that are in the beginning of their career, who are at the beginning of their career journey, I should say. So I know you have a long career and you've seen a lot, as we've talked about in our pre-interview, but who would you say was Dr. Christine, or Christine at that point at 25? What were you doing? What were your thoughts in the very early stages of starting your career life?
At 25 years old?
Yeah.
Oh, at 25, I was married and I was not working. I was actually having my first child at 25. I was married to someone who was away quite a bit because he was a pilot. And so it was agreed that I stayed home and did the caregiving for the kids and make sure that everything was good, right? It was something that we agreed on. So I wasn't working. I did not work for 20 years.
So there was no career.
There was career before.
I mean, there was a family career, which is a job.
There was a career before I got married. I was in the insurance industry, but it was like right after school, you went into the insurance thing, you did a thing, and then got married and didn't work for 20 years.
Okay, let's just pause on that because
yes, it didn't work. I was working, but caring for my family, that's a lot of work, to tell you.
Oh, no, that's a full-time job, and plus. I think there's actually somewhere, and I don't know the number, they quantified if you paid a mother a full-time, a stay-at-home mother a salary, it's some astronomical number. So
yes.
It's an important job, an important role. But I introduced you as Dr. Christine.
Yeah.
And that means, and then at the same time, you spent 20 years of your life focusing on your family. So how did you feel? I should say, how did you feel when, you and your husband made a decision that you would be a stay-at-home mother? Were you okay with that? Was that what you wanted?
Yeah, I was okay with that because I believe, because I am from the era when mothers kind of stayed home and took care of the kids. I'm kind of like from that era, right? I hadn't gotten caught up into the whole career. There were people doing their career stuff, but it was okay with me because I really wanted to make sure. One thing I'd seen how kids could be, their whole training could be really wrecked if they're not taken care of by just having nannies coming in, or people who come, taking them to the daycare all the time. So I wanted a kind of a hands-on thing. So I was fine with that. I didn't have a problem with that.
So you stopped your early career pretty soon after. So it was an easy decision for you.
Yes.
You were happy to focus on it. Did you feel like you were missing anything at any point?
You know what I did earlier, just before I had my first child, was my daughter. I actually went and did skincare and a beauty aesthetics in Toronto. And so I was doing that while I was home, but it was, it was more like, it was while I was home, and then I would I would still be there with the kids. So it worked, but it wasn't a big business because I was bringing people into my home. So I had to be very choosy.
So at 25, you were having your first, how many, may I ask, how many children do you have?
2 girls.
2 girls. Oh, that's special. That's
They're special. special.
So at 25, you were having your first baby. You decided to focus on your family. And then 20 years later, you decided to start working again.
Well, it wasn't, yeah, it was, they were, okay. There were two stages. I decided to work again when the kids got their driver's license and they could take themselves to school because they never took the bus. I usually took them and picked them up. So when both of them got their driver's license, when the older one got her driver's, they were able to drive each other, right? So drive the younger one. So I kind of said, maybe I should now start looking for something. So I did go out and I started a career. I got a job at a furniture store selling furniture, right? So I did that like maybe for about 3 years, 2 or 3 years, I did that. And then the divorce happened.
Oh.
So it was the divorce that really pushed me back to, I stopped working and went full-time because I realized I had to do this quickly and I couldn't do it with a full-time job. So I took out a student loan and I went full-time back to school to get my undergrad because I realized now I have to take care of myself. I've worked for 20 years. Me going back into the working, in field is going to be hard enough as it is. I don't want to be working at, like a fast food thing because I would not be able to remember all of those orders. But I really give those people kudos or anything like that. And it is not something I want to do, right? I want to be able to live a life that I want. And to give me options, I thought, let me get my degree because I really did not want me. I remember I met a friend who said to me, my goodness, you now have your PhD. And when you left high school, you said you'd never go back to school. So it was not something that was planned. It was not something that was planned.
Okay, you just said a lot there. So I want to go back for a second to like your era. I know you are of Jamaican background. Did you grow up in Jamaica? Were you raising your kids in Jamaica?
Yes.
Okay. And that is, that's interesting. I should ask. At that time in Jamaica, obviously listen, Jamaican women do some amazing things in this world, run governments and everything. So it was pretty standard for women to go to high school, maybe complete some university and then get married.
Yes.
Okay. So was the idea of being a career woman at that time, was it shunned upon? Was it welcomed? Or was it kind of like, how was it culturally, I should say?
Culturally, it was fine. You chose what you wanted to do, basically. It wasn't like there were friends of mine who went and continued working and did their career and everything. So it's more of a personal kind of a decision. But it was from my era, meaning I'm old.
Age is relative.
I know. And so my parents, that's how they did things. One worked, one took care of the household kind of, the people that I saw around me most of the time, one worked, the wife worked usually, and the husband went out and the wife stayed at home and the husband went out and worked. And but that wasn't the only reason why I did that. It was just what worked for us because he was away so much. And it was something that we wanted to make sure our kids were okay when, not in some daycare where something might happen to them and we have no handle on, you know what I'm saying? So it's a personal choice.
And then, so you had smaller jobs, and you started doing a little bit more work as your daughters were getting older and becoming more independent. Mm-hmm. What was the moment? And then the divorce, and that's where I kind of paused, because when I do these interviews, I put myself in the mindset of someone who might be going through something similar, and that is a huge fear. I know I'm going to speak for the women that I've even met and spoke with, that when they are completely dependent on their significant other for financial help, and that's nothing wrong with it. It's just a way of life. But how did you feel when you realized, oh, I have to start doing this on my own now? I have to get out on my own.
Afraid. And that is why my topic for the way I live my life is do it afraid. I was afraid because when you say I completely dependent on my husband, I was completely dependent on him financially. As a matter of fact, I'm not a person who was the person. My thing for me was my role for me was to take care of the home and the kids. I didn't care about finances, so I did not dig into all of that and know what was happening, right? So that was another fear for me. I didn't know about mortgages. I mean, I paid it because it was an account that I paid, that's it. But I mean, I didn't know about getting mortgages, buying homes, nothing. I knew nothing. So, I mean, if there is one takeaway from my life experience that I'd like your viewers to see is that even because I got divorced at 42, even at 42, when I went back to school at 42, it's never too late to start over again. It's never too late. And do it afraid. Do it afraid. Because you'll always feel some kind of fear. You're going to feel fear in everything that you do that is new.
And so Dr. Christine named her career safari, Do It Afraid, because giving up is not an option. Mm-hmm. And that's why you picked this? And you see that as a common theme throughout your life?
It's definitely a common theme. Everything that I've ever done, I've been doing it alone. I don't have anyone because I'm now single, of course, right? And so I've started my business alone, going out into a format online, strictly online. I didn't want to be in an office because that's overhead when I'm not making any money and all kind of other expenses. So I said, okay, I'm going to go online. Long before the pandemic came along and people were forced online, I was doing my business online via Zoom. So all my clients, I see them online. And so I have clients all over the place. I can see a client from anywhere as long as our time frame can coincide that we can have a conversation, during the time that we're awake. Do you know what I'm saying? But I work online, strictly online.
And how did you, I mean, it's one thing, I mean, it's already just amazing. And that's probably the wrong word for it, but I'm at a loss of words. But it's already just fascinating and, to me, brilliant. And it shows a lot about the woman that you are, that after decades of being married, you had to go through a divorce. And then not only did you go back to school, you went back to get your PhD. So what was the moment that made you realize, I think where I want to land is psychotherapy? And then, I want to keep on going and I want to get my PhD.
When I was finished with my master's, and I'll tell you, I did my undergrad and my master's during my divorce. Okay. My divorce lasted 4 years. It took 4 years. It was a really bad divorce, right? And during that time, I stopped working at that furniture store and I went back to school full time, took out a student loan and went back to school, did my undergrad, and I went full time. So I would take 6 classes. When people were taking 4 or 3, I was taking 6 because I knew I had a limited time to do it. So I was going full time. And I think in a way, it really helped me to get through that divorce process because I was so focused I was busy. I was completely busy studying and going to school and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of helped, if looking at it from the positive perspective. And when I was finished, I got a job at the same university I went to. And then I went and got my master's. And because I'd gotten a lot of the credits transferred from my bachelor's, I was able to complete my master's in 1 year, right? So therefore, I was able to finish my undergrad and my master's in 4 years. I graduated just right before the divorce became finalized.
I feel like they're saying hallelujah.
No. I know. I know.
I mean, my parents unfortunately divorced. It wasn't from my end. It wasn't very contentious. Everything probably leading up to it was,
Yes, yes, yes.
but the actual divorce wasn't very damaging to their relationship from my point of view as the youngest daughter. But now having friends who have gone through it, and I see it from now an adult lens, the mind games, the stress, it's just brutal. You really are tearing up your soul.
You are. Yeah.
And then to go and put yourself through the mental exercise of getting your bachelor's and your master's, having been out of education, having been out of work for 20 years. What did your family say? What did your daughter say?
They're proud of me, but I don't think they recognize, because I never really complained about anything. So I don't think they recognize the journey.
Mm.
That's probably the best way to put it. I don't think they recognize the journey.
Do you recognize it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes, I do. And I think it's funny because all the things I've been through I think it's helped me to become a better coach, therapist, whatever it is you call it, because I've experienced so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And actually, now going a little bit deeper into your therapist work, you have you have a publishing called When Mommy Goes Back to School.
Yeah,
And
that was as a result of my PhD, going back to school, and really and I also saw from my my fellow students how going back to school really affected their lives. Especially when they have young children. My children were older to the point that they were going to university and stuff like that. They weren't nearly graduating high school and about to go to university when this happened. But I saw how it really affected families, and so I wanted some way of kind of getting them, to be able to have a conversation with their children. So the book was really more about like having a conversation, mom and dad having a conversation with the kids as to how things might change when mommy goes back to school.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of women out there who, maybe they aren't a stay-at-home mother. Maybe they took a step back in their career, put a pause on their career, have taken positions that probably don't require as much mental, physical, emotional energy, like a leadership role, because they wanted to focus on raising children. You see that a whole lot. Or perhaps, so they want to they want to use their brain differently. They want to go back to school. They want to do new things in their career. They want to start a podcast, start a YouTube channel, but they feel unsupported at home. And I'll say feel because maybe it's a real feeling, or maybe it's actually true, or maybe it's just they're scared to voice that with their partner. What advice would you have for the woman out there that's like, I know exactly what I want to do next, but the demands on my family, this pressure I'm feeling at home, I don't feel like I can do it?
Well, if it's something like a podcast or something like that, I would say start small. First, have a conversation with your partner if they're open to it. If they're not open to it and you feel that it's something that you really need to do to really fulfill your potential and whatever it is you want in life, then let them know that you really feel you need to do this, and and decide ways that will not kind of interrupt kind of life with the family life. For example, if you're going to be doing podcasts, maybe you have to do it in the middle of the night when everybody else is sleeping. It might be something like that, which is a lot of people do that because they may work full-time jobs and they may have other responsibilities with their children. And so they may do that after their kids go to sleep or something like that. Or maybe they may do it on a weekend, But I would say just really always never give up on your goals, because at the end of the day, when you look back, you're going to regret is something that you can never change. And that is the worst feeling, to know that you should have been doing something and you just didn't do it.
Did you have that inner voice in you while you were raising your children that you would want to do what you're doing now? I mean, obviously, maybe not YouTube. It wasn't around, but
No, nothing. This is like, it's, I would say it's, everything morphed. My life just moved on the demands that was required of me at that time. Let's put it that way. It was nothing planned. It just kind of moved. When I got a divorce, I realized I needed to take care of myself. So went back to school. When I went back to school and I finished my master's, I had a job, right? And I continued working full time while going back to school. And then I realized one day, oh my goodness, I don't feel fulfilled. I felt there was something else I needed. This is after my master's now. I felt there was something else I needed to do. And I actually prayed about it. I prayed about that. And I really was focused on praying about what God wanted me to do for, to fulfill the purpose that he has here for me, right? And I didn't hear anything, like, and then after a while, as humans, we give up and we just stop even bother to think about that. And then I would think about a year afterwards. I would say about a year or so afterwards. I'm just minding my own business, doing my work and going to school. I wasn't going to school at the time. I was just doing my work. And I was sitting in my office one evening and one of the professors that I managed, one of the adjuncts who I managed, walked by the office and we're talking, he was going home and we were talking and the conversation started into like relationships and just life problems. And all of a sudden, I am there giving this man, I listened to him and then I was there giving this man advice, which I didn't even know where I got that from, right? Tell you the truth. And then he said to me, you're missing your calling. What are you doing here? You should be doing something with people, helping people, because the way you just what you just said to me just caused me to look at things in a totally different way. And the funny thing about that is that same thing, what are you doing here? You missed your calling. It happened again 3 times in one. And then the third time I go, okay, then I hear you. I hear you. No, you're responding to me. I hear what you're saying. So immediately I went, and because I was in a university system, I went and looked at the light because I knew it was going to be a big thing that I have to do. A PhD is it's not just going and dabbling. I wanted to be sure that it's something I wanted to do. So I went to the library and first of all, I looked on my university just to see what they had in counseling is what they usually they mentioned, right? But I just didn't see myself as a counselor, right? And because in Jamaica, counseling to me meant school counseling.
Oh, like the guidance counselor at school.
Guidance counselor. Okay. And I just didn't want to deal with, I just didn't see myself doing that, right? And so I didn't know anything about like counseling like this, right? And so I went into my thing, looked and saw that I looked in the psychology department and then I looked into another thing. I see marriage and family therapy and I go, what the hell is that? I didn't know what that was, right? I went in there, I read all the classes that they had that you had to do, the coursework. And each time I read it, Warmita, it's like something inside of me soared. It was like jump out my chest. It was like, yes. And all I could hear in my spirit was yes, yes, yes. And I go, okay, this is it. And okay, so I continue. I said, okay, let me look and see what this thing is, because I didn't know what it was, right? So I went and took out some books from the library, which was right next door to me, right? My university library. Took about 3 home with me, started reading it. And when I knew that this was what I was meant to do was when on my way home, the book I started reading, as soon as I'm getting to a stoplight and I'm breaking up for a stoplight, I start reaching for the book, which was on my seat and on my seat next to me to read what was next. And I go, wow, this is what I was meant to do. It was like, I knew it. And I applied to the program, got accepted. And because I didn't have a psychology background, I had to do a lot of prerequisite classes. And so my degree was like over like 117 hours, right? Versus a lot of people who was like about 96, right? Because of, yeah. And so, and the funny thing is, Warmy, because I was so I loved it so much and I was so focused. I did it in 4 years. And that included 1,000, 1,000 hours of going, oh my God, we have to do all these, the hours you have to do after you get your degree. Let's put it
Okay.
like we have to do these hours and we have to do it like at different places. So I did it in a hospital, behavioral hospital, right? And
The
so
clinical hours, is that what they call them?
yeah.
Okay.
So I did like I did 1,000 of those, and all of that I did in 4 years. I graduated from my PhD program in 4 years. I know that was a mouthful, right?
Because it's a mouthful. It's the level of effort and the that you put into this. Which one? I mean, that says something. One, when you're passionate about something, you find the energy.
Yes,
You find it when I mean, like you said, if you want to do podcasts, if you want to do whatever it is, if it's something that you like, you will, even if it's 20 minutes a day or 20 minutes a week, you find a way to feed the passion.
yes.
And this kind of gets into like what your expertise. I remember, when you're talking to girlfriends and they break up with somebody, or even your guy friends and they break up with somebody and they're like, I don't want to go back out there. I don't want to date anymore. And I always say, you find the energy when it's the person that's really like you're vibing with, you find that energy to reopen up your heart again.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing when you're passionate about a subject or a particular career, you find it and you dig. And man, I mean, so you became a doctor at what age?
About 50. Let me see. I have my degree up there. I'm looking to see. It says 2016. 2016. So I don't even know what that is. I'm 62 years old. I think I think it was 52 or 54, something like that, is when I became a doctor. Yes.
You can't see me, but I'm raising my hands in the room.
I see.
So the audience can't see me. But I'm
see.
sitting there like, oh, women, we do some things like getting your PhD in family and marriage and family. Wow. In your 50s.
Yes.
Dr. Christine, this is amazing. And I'm so happy that you listened to that inner voice. I am obviously not happy at the circumstances that brought you to it, but it's just a testament to your career can have many lives. The story is not over until it is over.
Yes.
And there's many different phases of what our lives can look like. And you really can't write the book. You can't.
No, you can't. Yeah.
But I want to get into your YouTube community because that's how I found you. I was actually researching attachment theories, coming from my own therapist. We were talking a little bit about it, and it caused me to dig in a bit more. And so there's a lot of YouTubers on there that are doing attachment theory conversations. But there was something about you, and it's just your way of connecting to the audience. I felt that you were literally my therapist.
I know. I get that thing. I really am. I appreciate that because that's what I get. And that's what I get. And that is so important because if you feel disconnected, especially the way I do therapy is online. I'm not sitting in the room with you. And I remember one of my clients who did a review for me. She said, even though she's in the UK and I'm here, she said she felt that there was no distance between us. And it meant so much to me because that is what you need, that connection when you're trying to help someone and work for them to trust you, to really bare their soul. They're telling you things that they may not have told anyone else. And if they're not comfortable to do that, you're not going to get anywhere because you're working on surface layer, which is a false perception of what's happening. And you're not able to dig deep and go down to the very level of where you can help that person. So I really appreciate that.
Oh, and she said it right. I felt like there was no barrier between you and I. But on top of that, what you're doing is you're actually talking to a computer. So it's one thing when you're talking to someone on Zoom and you have that connection, you're able to have that connection with people and there's nobody on the other end of the screen. And I just sat there fascinated obviously with the content of what you were talking about. And then I just had to sit there. I'm like, this is impressive that she was able to build that connection. So yeah, your ability to connect and encourage people and teach people about having healthy relationships is a gift. And there's a thing that, that's sometimes popular on hashtags called hashtag free game. You bring a lot of free game out there to people about knowing themselves, knowing, how to talk to their partner. So it's one thing, again, to decide to go get your PhD and get your PhD in your 50s, which is its own, incredible thing. But then to decide to have a YouTube community, what brought the decision to actually go to YouTube and share your knowledge through YouTube?
Well, I think as I mentioned, everything kind of just morphed. And I started on Facebook, realized I wasn't getting the results I wanted. I did Instagram, realized that was a little better. And then I said, YouTube is the next thing. And I said, okay, I'm going to do YouTube. And then I started out small and did a little random one. It was not as sustained as I'm doing it now. Now I try to do one every day. Before it was just one once in a while kind of thing. And then after a while, I say, you know what? People are liking what I'm talking about. So I just say, let me do one once a day to see what happens. And that's where I get most of my clients from, Instagram and YouTube.
How does it feel to have like a growing community? Because when I found you, it was earlier this year, and I've seen your community grow just in that. So how does it feel to have this growing community?
Great, because it makes me realize that I am helping people and they are looking, and I'm giving them some value to add to their life, that they can grow by themselves, or at least be aware of some of the things that's happening with them, which they never thought about. So so it makes me really feel good because I'm fulfilling my purpose. That is my purpose here. And this is a purpose. This for me is not just a purpose for me, it's a God-given purpose. And so that is even more important for me because I'm doing what God created me to do. And so it comes easy for me because I love it so much.
Oh, and it's apparent that you love it so much. And I think you're right. Now I'm thinking about it, that makes sense of why people feel that connection to you. But yeah, the innovation it takes, especially, I can only when I wanted to start Career Safari, let me talk about me for a second. When I wanted to start Career Safari, I actually didn't want my face out there. I didn't want my voice out there. And I still try to make it all about the women. So it took some convincing for me to even go this far. I didn't even want a website. I wanted to partner with someone who had their own blog, and I would just have features once a month. Right. But it kind of evolved into this thing, and I had to embrace technology. And I'm an old millennial, but I'm considered a millennial. Yeah. But embracing technology is not for the faint of heart. Embracing social media is not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. And I've had to teach myself everything. I use YouTube a lot to teach myself how to market myself, how to, add hashtags, how to, all of those things. I have to really learn myself. So on top of what I need to learn just to be able to really help my clients, because I have to keep reading, I cannot just live on what I learned in school or what I read 2 years ago. I keep reading and learning new things because things are always changing and there's always more to learn. And so my thing is I'm constantly learning something new. And the same thing applies with social media, right? I've had to constantly learn new things that's going to help me to market what I do, as well as to express different, do different things that is now interesting to people, because it changes so often that you just have to keep on the cusp of all the new things that's happening.
Yeah, and I actually want to give people a little bit of a taste of what I experienced from Dr. Christine's Leverage for Change YouTube. And we talk a lot about careers here. obviously, because this is Career Safari and we embrace different women's journeys and experiences. And I feel it's always about balance. So having a healthy career, having a healthy relationship, I think having good love and a true partnership helps reveal yourself, helps you become better. And I do think that, and perhaps I'm just speaking about Western society, but there has been a lot of focus on women becoming career women and becoming independent. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I do think it should be balanced.
Yes.
So what's your thoughts on for career women out there trying to figure out, I want to be a career woman, but, should I date? Should I have marriage? Like they're trying to figure out like, how do they fit all that stuff in?
It's balance, as you mentioned. It's really about balance and realizing that you cannot do everything that everybody wants, because at the end of the day, and boundaries is a big thing when you're trying to kind of manage several roles, right? Because you have to know that a lot of people will take advantage. If you were all before you go into your career and you have so much to do, you may have been the person that everybody comes to do this or ask to do that. And now you have to cut back and say, no, I can no longer do it. And, a lot of people get really overwhelmed because they continue to be the person to do that when they have other responsibilities that they're trying to really accomplish, right? And so by creating a boundary and say, I'm sorry, but now I have no time to do this. I really I really would love to do it as I did in the past, but I just don't have the time. And I need to have priorities of the things I need to do. And then if I, have the time to do that, then, I'll gladly help you with that. But you put your family, you make sure you organize your time around your family, your business, and your relationships. And then whatever time is left, but you have to create kind of like a really to-do list, what it is that you need to do each day, right? In your mind, that you do consistently. And then whatever is time you have left over, then you do. And always put in time that is time to just relax. Because otherwise you're going to burn out. And relaxing does not mean going to do something for somebody else. Not, it means that you just chill and do something that you love to do. It could be just sitting in a park by yourself. It could be with your significant other watching a movie, or just kind of chilling or going on a date night or something like that. But you have to make sure that the important areas of your life is already scheduled so that whenever people come to you, because a lot of people, your boss might want you to work this weekend or every weekend or overtime, and you have to set boundaries. Because once you do it, the more you do, the more they want. There are people like that, right? So you have to be able to really feel comfortable with saying no. And sometimes you don't have to give them a reason. No, I can't do it. I'm sorry, that's inconvenient for me. Simple as that.
Yes, you told on me a little bit. Just I'm not going to tell you which part of what you just shared, but you did tell on me a little.
A lot of people have that issue, believe me.
Yeah. No, it's true. And you want to be everything to everybody. And the next thing you know, you're depleted in your bed, like needing to rest, and you're snapping at people. And then you realize I didn't put a boundaries.
In your bed. Nobody shows up when you're in your bed. Needing them. So you have to be able to know the people that is going to be there for you as well when you need them, that you feel comfortable being there for them when they need you. But for all the takers, no. Simply, no, I'm sorry, I won't be able to do that.
I'm just, this is my own curiosity coming in. Where did this notion of if a woman wants to be a career woman, it means she doesn't want to be in a relationship come from? Like, I hear this thing. I remember I was a former boss of mine. They made a little quip saying, oh, Mita doesn't need a man. She's an independent woman. And I remember I quipped right back, I need a man. And I'm not saying I'm desperate for a man. Right. I'm saying, oh no, I love my job. I love my career, but don't ever think that I am saying that loving a career and wanting a career does not mean that you don't want to love a partner and have a partner as well. Do you know where this idea came from? Like, where is it?
I don't know where it came from, but I can pretty much know why it came to be.
Oh,
People are misinterpreting the meaning of having a relationship with meaning that you need something from a man to, if you're working, they feel that you're independent, right? They're thinking that you don't need money from a man. But that is
ah,
what relationships, they're misinterpreting what independence means. It does not mean you're independent from having relationships. It means you're independent, that you don't need the person to support you fully, that both of you can come together, right? But you do need relationships. You don't need a man or a woman. You need a partner who you can share your life with. That's what it is all about. But they're giving a meaning that because you're independent, you don't need a man, because the meaning they gave to a man before was a provider, somebody who can give you money. And that's what it is. That's basically what it is. It's just a meaning that they give to, what having a man entails.
meaning a wallet.
A wallet. Exactly.
You know, and you just told on that person, because I know, I won't say, I know who that person is, and they absolutely do equate having a man with being the provider.
Right.
And yeah. Well, I have some audience questions for you, but let's pause the recording for a second.
Okay.
We are at time, so I want to see how you are.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Okay, Dr. Christine, I actually went to Career Safari's social media page, and I mentioned that I had this wonderful person who has your background on, and asked if they have any questions for a relationship coach. So are you open to me asking you a few audience questions?
I'll answer what I can. If I don't know the answer to it, I'll say I don't, and that's it.
Yep, that's perfectly fine. So, okay, I'll start with a funny question. What makes someone a relationship expert? They see a lot of people on YouTube, on Instagram saying that they're relationship expert. There's this whole subculture around handsome men with muscles trying to tell women how to get to them. That makes me want to vomit, but it's popular. So what makes somebody a relationship expert?
I would never even call myself a relationship expert, even though I've studied relationships. That was my PhD focus, marriage and family therapy, relationships in marriage and families and everybody else involved. It's just one of these things that people now on YouTube is, they use to kind of draw a crowd, I guess. And because most of these individuals don't even have a degree in or never studied it. It's something that they pick up along the, I don't know. Maybe they figure if they've been in relationships and they are now a relationship expert. I don't know what it is. To tell you.
I've been in a few, and I'll tell you, I'm not an expert on nothing.
I'm an expert now, yeah. Maybe that's what it is, but no. I really don't believe in that title that you're a relationship. Nobody's an expert in anything. We're always learning. We're in a learning process. We're not really experts in anything. There's always something new to learn.
So how do you filter out the crappy people from the good people that are out there trying to spew advice?
Meaning the people.
Relationship.
Gosh, it's hard because a lot of people will copy also from others who may know something, and just continue to propagate that kind of information. They really, or they learn it from other YouTubers who have maybe some expertise in that area. So I don't know. It's difficult. You just have to. I don't know. I really don't know. You just have to basically. Does it sound legit? You have to kind of use your own kind of filter as to what you think might be. But a lot of people don't have any kind of background in relationships, so it's really hard to kind of filter that out. I understand that. But for somebody like me, I can kind of filter that out because I kind of know what. But it's very difficult for someone who doesn't really have that background to really filter that. Filter out who should you listen to and who you should listen to.
What are 5 questions to ask early in a relationship to determine if they are worth investing more time? Now, it doesn't have to be 5 questions, but what helps someone know?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you have to make sure that the person has the same values. And you're not going to ask these person, as you'd say, ask. you want to spend, if you notice that somebody is not spending time with you, quality time, they are only calling you in the middle of the night for a booty call, or they're calling you at the last minute. Usually I wouldn't say questions are the most important things. I would say actions. Watch their actions. Because people will tell you anything you want to hear. And that's what they do, right? A lot of people will ask you questions before, or talk to you before, find out what you like, what you don't like, what your dreams are, and they will just morph into that person until they get what they want. So I would suggest, instead of asking questions, really to watch the behavior of the person, right? And you yourself, don't tell too much about yourself. Don't tell your whole life story, because you're going to tell how this man left you, and he's going to realize, oh, you're in a vulnerable state right now. You know what I'm saying? You're going to tell about all the things that happened in the past relationships, and you put up with it. Oh, so she allows that, or he allows that. So don't tell too much about your whole inner core pain and hurt, because they will morph into that person who's going to be your savior.
Wow. But that's for a person, that's for a particular type of person would use that information against you. Or you're saying in general?
In general, most men will, even when they don't realize that they're doing it. Because they want to be, especially most men are not really looking for you as a partner for life. So that's why I say most men. Most men are going to be looking at you. When you hear somebody always talking about your body, how good it looks, how big your bust is, how big your boot, or whatever your body parts, or how beautiful you are at the beginning of a thing, and they're always, everything is sexually focused. That person is there for one thing and one thing only. And they will wait you out too, to make them look, to make them look like they're a good patient guy. So that is why I always say to my clients, do not rush into a relationship. Take your time. Because some people just will not last. If that's not who they are, they will not last. But instead of asking them things, watch the behavior. Are they putting you as priority? Do they call when they see that they meet you for a date? Do they say, can we meet again this weekend? Instead of waiting until Friday night, they call you. Or after they've called like maybe 50 million people who they actually wanted to date, or you know what I'm saying? And then they get to you because you're the only one that's available or something like that.
Sheesh.
Yes. So you have to be very careful when you're dating. I do have videos in my when you're dating in my YouTube channel about specifically what to watch for. Red flags. You might, if you put in type in red flags dating, you can probably find some of those on my channel, right? But there are a lot of things that you have to watch out for. But the way I would phrase the question you asked me is not really to ask them, because they're going to tell you, the ones who are players, they're going to tell you exactly what you want to hear. If they know that you're asking, so what is your intention? Oh, I want a long-term relationship. But you didn't ask what long-term is and what long-term entails. Long-term could mean 7 years, just every now and again you date, right?
Yeah.
So you have to also, and if you ask them that, they'll tell you that too, because they only want one thing. If that's what they want, if they only want sex, right? Then they will tell you what you want to hear. So it is better every time to watch the actions. Look at the actions. Don't ask them, don't even tell them you're noticing this. Don't even say that. You just sit there as you're an investigator. You're gathering data. You're a researcher. You're gathering data. You're looking at the person and seeing, how do they respond to others? Do they insult people? Is that somebody who you could sit with? You go to a restaurant and they start to show off and start to insult the waiter and the servers or whoever it is. Is this your value system? Is this somebody I could live with for the rest of my life, going out with? If they're insulting and they have no value for this person who's a total stranger, then it will soon turn to me.
Mm. Mm.
Right? You sit and you watch. Is it some people, some individuals are pretty good at not really outwardly looking at people as they pass, as other members of opposite sex, right? But you have to watch other things about, do they get really angry? Sometimes individuals are angry at things that they see in themselves. For example, somebody who is a cheater might get angry at other cheaters or say, that is so horrible, but it's really at the part that they hate about themselves.
Mm.
So when you see somebody really getting overly very zealous about, that's just, horrible, and you have to say, you don't know that person. Why are you so, right? So you have to, it's, I guess because I also know a little bit more about that kind of thing, you might notice, but if you could let them check out my red flags in dating and the dating before you date, that kind of stuff. Just put in dating, I guess you could find that on my channel. That will help a lot of individuals. But the main thing is to watch the behavior and slow it down.
Mm. Yeah, I'll actually put the link to the red flags and dating before you're dating on the thecareersfairy.com in your profile, so they can easily access it. But yeah, you guys are getting a taste. So I have one last audience question.
Mm-hmm.
How should one manage relationship expectations in the COVID era when meeting physically is so much needed but makes someone anxious?
This is going to be more for the attachment style, the anxious, preoccupied, not being able to see their partner in the time that they want to, because this is what really makes the anxious, preoccupied individual really anxious. But I think that the communication between partners is really important, right? Communicating your expectations from each other. That means both of you have to talk and have a conversation and say, okay, so because we might not be able to go to this place, but there are other places we can go. We can go to the park. Let's go outdoors. Why don't we go and sit? We can go in a restaurant, but we can sit outdoors, right? Maybe we can't go to say a movie, but we can do it at home, right? If you're a committed partner, then that's fine, but just not for a booty call. Right? When you have a certain level of commitment and you're you've been dating each other for a while and you realize both of you are committed to this relationship. Yeah, a movie night, one person go over and you have a meal, one person cooks or whatever it might be. That's fine too, right? But fight for outdoors. I would say go outside, especially now the weather is getting really nice. Most people can actually go outside, especially except for those winter places that people freeze with snow and ice and stuff. And then maybe there are things that they can do outside. Maybe they just go outside and play snow, whatever you call it, or rolling that thing you go down the hill with, or whatever. And, just find other things that you can do. You can always navigate and do things if both parties are really interested in being together.
Yes.
People will always find a way. It's when the person is one party is not really interested that they will find the excuse. They will use that as an excuse. So you also have to watch that.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, some people, it's COVID. I don't want to hug or no.
Right. But you talk, you can say, I've had my vaccination, I've had all of this, and I really try my best to stay away from whatever it is. So, if people want to really get together, they'll find a way and they will work together to make it happen.
So we just got a taste of Dr. Christine Chinsim and her expertise. So if you want more, please tell them how to find you on YouTube.
It's actually Dr. Christine Chinsim YouTube thing. I guess you could find my link and put it there too. Yeah. But what else is there? You could if you want to really speak to me personally about coaching, if that is that what you're asking?
No,
Or
I just wanted the name of your YouTube channel.
I think it's Dr. Christine Chinsim,
Okay.
Christine Chinsim YouTube channel. Yeah.
If you want more of some advice, if you want some more of her guidance, that YouTube channel, I'll make sure to put a link in thecareerstory.com. And also you'll probably see it in the actual podcast episode itself. But that was just a taste of all the things that she talks about. So thank you for taking the audience questions, Dr. Christine.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, let me pause. Is there anything else you want to cover before we close?
Let me see. I know I have my questions that you gave me. Let me see. Not really, and not if you think that you've gotten every, what you've you wanted. I'm fine.
Okay. So, Dr. Christine, I can't thank you enough for being a torchbearer, for listening to your voice and actually becoming a psychotherapist and being out there and helping families and marriages thrive. What would be your last piece of advice for people out there that hear your story and, you're inspiring them to do more?
There's always time to start over. Do it. You're going to be afraid doing anything new, guys. Anything that you're going to start that's new and different, you're going to be afraid. Fear is a part of everything that you do. And so when you use fear as something that's going to block you, it's going to mean that you're not going to ever do anything new, right? So always know that it's a part of it, and just face it and go through it. Once you do that, you notice it gets less and less and less each time you do it.
Yeah, because you start trusting yourself.
Yeah. And you see that the things that you feared was really just those thoughts in your head that you accepted as being real.
Oh, well, that is our torchbearer for the month, Dr. Christine Chinsim. Dr. Christine, thank you so much for joining us. Please give the name of your website so if people want to hear more.
It's Leverage for Change Coaching and Consulting. leverageforchange.com is my website. And if you need to email me, it's also, for any questions you may have, is leverageforchange@gmail.com.
And it's the 4 is the number 4.
Yes, it's leverage for the number 4 change.
Awesome. And if you want to learn more about her career journey, visit us at www.thecareersafari.com. Don't forget to join our Torch community, subscribe to our newsletter, our social media sites. And until then, continue to pass the torch. Bye, everyone, and see you in a couple months.
Bye.
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
How did it feel? How was it?
Oh, it was great. It was great. It was fine.